Before neon lights, before bullet trains, Tokyo was a city of samurai, secret police, and wooden streets that could burn in a single night. In 1700, Edo was already one of the largest cities on Earth, but it was nothing like you. Imagine in the year 1700. Edo was already one of the largest cities on Earth, with a population approaching 1 million people, rivaling London, Paris, and Beijing in sheer scale. Yet outside Japan, almost no one knew it existed. Under the Tokugawa shogunate's Sakoku policy, foreign travel was banned, Christianity was outlawed, and only a handful of Dutch and Chinese traders were allowed limited access through Nagasaki. While Europe was expanding through empires and trade routes, Edo grew inward, becoming a highly organized political and economic center without global contact. The city was dominated by the shogun's castle, surrounded by concentric districts of samurai residences, merchant quarters, temples, and markets, all governed by strict regulations. Edo was not a frontier or a port city. It was a closed, controlled megacity that functioned almost entirely on its own, quietly shaping the future of modern Japan. Long before Edo became a vast city, it was a small fishing settlement on the edge of Tokyo Bay, surrounded by marshland and tidal flats. Its transformation began in 1590, when the warlord Tokugawa Ieyasu was granted the region by Toyotomi Hideyoshi after the unification of Japan. Ieyasu immediately recognized Edo's strategic value. It was close to the sea, protected by rivers, and far from the old imperial power centers of Kyoto and Osaka. After Ieyasu became shogun in 1603, Edo was declared the seat of his military government. Massive land reclamation projects reshaped the coastline, canals were dug, and roads were built to connect Edo to the rest of Japan. What had been a remote outpost became the administrative heart of a new political order that would rule Japan. For more than 2 centuries, by 1700, Edo was no longer just a political capital. It was a city built around a warrior class. Nearly half of its population consisted of samurai, most of them retainers serving the Tokugawa shogunate or one of the regional daimyo, who were required to maintain residences in the city. Under the Senkin-kotai system, these lords had to spend every other year in Edo, leaving their families there permanently as a form of political hostage. As a result, tens of thousands of armed retainers lived in tightly organized compounds surrounding Edo Castle. Yet this was an age of peace. With no major wars to fight, many samurai became administrators, clerks, and officials. Their status was preserved, but their traditional role as warriors slowly shifted into one of bureaucratic service, reshaping what it meant to be a samurai in Tokugawa Japan. Edo was governed by one of the most rigid social systems in early modern history. The Tokugawa shogunate enforced a hierarchy that divided society into 4 main classes: samurai, farmers, artisans, and merchants. Status was inherited at birth and legally fixed, shaping where people could live, what they could wear, and even how they could travel. At the top stood the samurai, supported by rice stipends from the state. Farmers were valued for producing food, while artisans supplied goods. Merchants, despite being considered the lowest class because they did not create anything, accumulated enormous wealth through trade, lending, and urban commerce. In Edo's crowded districts, this imbalance became impossible to ignore. Many samurai fell into debt, borrowing from merchants who technically outranked them economically, but not socially. The city functioned as a controlled social laboratory, revealing the tensions between inherited status and rising financial power. Edo was a city built almost entirely from wood, paper, and plaster, making it extremely vulnerable to fire. Open cooking hearths, oil lamps, and tightly packed neighborhoods meant that flames could spread in minutes. Between the 17th and 19th centuries, Edo experienced hundreds of major fires, earning the grim nickname the City of Fires. The most devastating was the Great Mairiki Fire of 1657, which killed an estimated 100,000 people and destroyed much of the city, including large sections near Edo Castle. In response, the shogunate reorganized urban planning, widening streets, creating fire breaks, and establishing professional firefighting units known as haikushi. These brigades became a permanent part of city life, racing through the streets to contain blazes before they consumed entire districts. Fire shaped Edo's architecture, daily routines, and even its culture of constant rebuilding. Despite strict social controls, Edo developed spaces where everyday rules were temporarily suspended. The most famous was Yoshiwara, the officially licensed pleasure district established by the Tokugawa government in 1617. It was tightly regulated, walled and guarded, yet it became the center of a vibrant urban culture known as the Ukiyo, or floating world. Within Yoshiwara, wealthy merchants and samurai spent fortunes on courtesans, performances, and entertainment, while artists and writers documented its fashions and rituals through woodblock prints and popular literature. Kabuki theater, which flourished in Edo, often drew inspiration from these pleasure quarters, bringing their style and scandals to a wider audience. In a society built on discipline and hierarchy, Yoshiwara offered a controlled outlet for desire, creativity, and social mixing, shaping much of what later generations would recognize as classic Japanese urban culture. Order in Edo was maintained through one of the most sophisticated systems of surveillance in early modern history. The Tokugawa shogunate feared rebellion, especially from powerful regional lords and disgruntled samurai, so the city was divided into tightly monitored neighborhoods. Every household belonged to a goninguni, a five-family unit in which members were collectively responsible for each other's behavior. If one person committed a crime, the entire group could be punished. In addition, official inspectors and informants, known as metsuk and ametsuk, watched both the population and the ruling elite for signs of disloyalty. Travel was restricted, identity papers were required, and gatherings were closely regulated. These measures created remarkable stability, but they also produced a society where privacy was limited and conformity was enforced by both the state and one's neighbors. Edo's peace rested on constant observation. For more than 2 centuries, Edo remained politically powerful but technologically restrained. The Tokugawa shogunate deliberately limited foreign contact after 1639, allowing only small, tightly controlled trade with the Dutch and Chinese through Nagasaki. This isolation prevented the spread of Western military and industrial technologies that were transforming Europe and parts of Asia. Inside Japan, the government also discouraged large-scale innovation that could disrupt social order. Roads, agriculture, and commerce were highly developed, but heavy industry and mechanization were absent. Edo became one of the world's largest cities without factories, railways, or modern infrastructure. Its economy was based on rice taxation, manual labor, and a sophisticated network of merchants and artisans. Stability was valued above change. While this allowed Edo to flourish as a cultural and administrative center, it also meant the city was unprepared for the technological shock that would arrive when Japan was forced to reopen to the outside world in the 19th century. By 1700, Edo had reached a level of size, organization, and cultural maturity unmatched anywhere in Japan, yet it existed within a carefully controlled world that could not last forever. The Tokugawa system, built on isolation, rigid hierarchy, and centralized authority, kept the city stable for more than 250 years. But it also delayed political and technological change. When Commodore Matthew Perry arrived with American warships in 1853, that balance collapsed. Within 15 years, the shogunate fell, and in 1868, the Meiji government moved the emperor from Kyoto to Edo, renaming it Tokyo, meaning Eastern Capital. The samurai class was abolished, Japan industrialized, and the old wooden city began transforming into a modern metropolis. Yet beneath the railways, factories, and skyscrapers of today's Tokyo lies the footprint of Edo, a vast pre-modern city that once quietly shaped the destiny of Japan.